My brothers and sisters, may the Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus departed to the mountain to pray, and he spent the night in prayer to God. When day came, he called his disciples to himself, and from them he chose 12, whom he also named apostles. Simon, whom he named Peter, and his brother Andrew. James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James the son of Alphaeus, Simon who was called a zealot, and Judas the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. And he came down with them and stood on a stretch of level ground. A great crowd of his disciples and a large number of the people from all Judea and Jerusalem and the coastal region of Tyre and Sidon came to hear him and to be healed of their diseases. And even those who were tormented by unclean spirits were cured. Everyone in the crowd sought to touch him, because power came forth from him and healed them all. The Gospel of the Lord. We've been listening the last couple of days to segments of Luke's account of Jesus' ministry, and we have to put it into the context of where it was in the church's history. It was probably put down in writing around the year 110 AD, so it's already a church that's become formed. In fact, if you recall on Sunday, the segment from Luke's account where Jesus tells them how to correct people who are making mistakes and are sinning, concludes with, and if they don't listen to any of them, take it to the church. Well, needless to say, that term church is a little bit older than, or a little bit younger, if you will, than that initial experience of Jesus. And so it already shows that the community and its structure is beginning to formulate an understanding as to what they are. It is also Luke who makes the point in the beginning of the Acts of the Apostles that upon the betrayal of Judas Iscariot, immediately he was replaced by another, Matthias. And it is because of this sort of structure of the church that's already in full blossom that this whole concept of naming the apostles becomes very important. It bespeaks the fact of apostolic succession, that you can trace historically one from another, that handing on of that commissioning, that call to be the leaders of the church. But even more than that, it is the realization that the church very quickly came to the conclusion that it was not just a break-off from Judaism, but rather it was the fulfillment of Judaism. We had already, by the time of Luke, have got past the arguments about whether Gentiles can become part of the community or not, and even the concept of some of the rituals and prescriptions of Judaism have now disappeared. In fact, we just heard from that letter of Colossians of Paul speaking about the fact that there's now no longer a physical circumcision, but rather a spiritual circumcision that takes place. And so besides the issue of apostolic succession, what is happening here is that the church is beginning to realize that they are rather not just an offshoot, but the fulfillment of what the plan for Judaism had been. And that in fact the 12 apostles now become symbolic of the restoration of the 12 tribes of Israel. And so this new concept becomes part and parcel of the church's understanding of itself as being a fulfillment of a plan that went way before the time of Jesus and way before the time even of Abraham and Moses into the plan of God for his people. Today we continue to believe this fact, that we are linked very intimately with our Jewish brothers and sisters by reason of the fact of sharing the same background, the same God, ultimately the same set of commandments. We realize as well that the call today to include everyone with the possibility of being part of that community is there, if we're willing to be open to it and we're willing to say yes to God's invitation to us to be part of it.